It's 9:17 a.m., the 14th of August 2025. Over the blue waters of the Gulf of Venezuela, a single flash cuts through the morning haze. An F-16 Fighting Falcon from the Venezuelan Air Force dives low, its wings trembling under pressure. Underneath, a silver missile drops free, then fires an AGM-65 Maverick, racing toward an American oil platform 130 miles offshore. Inside the control room of that platform, alarms explode in a deafening tone. The crew freezes. On the radar screen, one bright line moves fast and steady, closing the distance in seconds. "We're being targeted," someone shouts. In the Venezuelan jet, Captain Luis Herrera stares at his display. His radio crackles with static. No contact with command. His thumb hovers over the button. 3 seconds of silence, then click. The missile streaks forward, slicing the sky like a blade. And in that instant, the calm Gulf turns into the center of the storm that will change everything. That oil platform wasn't a military outpost or a secret spy site. It was a civilian drilling rig, operating legally in international waters under an American contract. For the crew, it was just another calm morning until that radar warning turned everything upside down. 2 days earlier, Venezuela had started a massive air and sea drill called Guardian Marino 2025. The goal was simple: show the world that their modernized F-16 seconds could defend the coastline. The country had poured nearly $490 million into upgrades, adding new radar systems, targeting pods, and avionics. But in their rush to prove strength, the details got lost. The official notice sent to other nations didn't clearly mark how far the drills would reach. It left a gray area, one where a training flight could easily cross paths with a real American operation. That's exactly what happened. In the air that morning, Captain Luis Herrera, a veteran pilot known for his bold moves, saw the platform appear on his radar. It was stationary, large, and perfectly visible. In his mind, it looked like an unknown surveillance post, maybe even a disguised threat. With foreign advisors watching from the ground, he felt pressure to perform. His co-pilot, Lieutenant Maria Lopez, was less certain. The data on her screen showed the coordinates clearly outside Venezuelan waters. "Sir, that's international space," she said quietly. Herrera didn't answer. To him, it wasn't just a training day anymore. It was a chance to prove that Venezuela could stand against American presence near its coast. But that one wrong assumption would set off a chain reaction no one could control. In the end, the line between a military exercise and an act of war came down to a single radar lock. If you think this was just a misunderstanding, press 1. If you believe it was a test of power, press 9. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss how this standoff escalates. From the Delta platform, Senior Supervisor John Smith was checking pressure gauges when the first alarm screamed through the control room. The system identified a fire control radar military grade coming from the south. Someone out there had locked onto them, and that could only mean danger. He grabbed the mic. "Delta platform to Venezuelan aircraft. This is a civilian site operating in international waters. Cease radar lock immediately." His voice was steady, but his heartbeat was racing. No answer. Just the endless tone of the radar warning echoing across the deck. "Activate countermeasures," Smith ordered. The crew moved fast, triggering electronic jammers and decoy flares that filled the air with false echoes. It was a defensive reflex, nothing aggressive. But to the pilot above, it looked like the platform was fighting back. Inside the F-16, Captain Luis Herrera saw his radar bloom with ghost targets. "They're jamming us," he said coldly. "That means they're armed." His co-pilot, Lieutenant Maria Lopez, spoke softly but firm. "Sir, the coordinates show it's a civilian rig outside Venezuelan waters." But the radio to base was silent. Static swallowed every word. Herrera tried 3 times to reach command. Nothing. "Authorization assumed," he said under his breath. His thumb pressed the launch button. The AGM-65 Maverick dropped. Then its rocket ignited, cutting through the air at Mach 0.9 around 680 miles per hour. The missile skimmed the waves, locked on heat signatures from the rig's deck. "Missile inbound!" someone screamed. Smith's voice broke the panic. "Evacuate! Everyone to the lifeboats!" Flares burst like fireworks. Thick smoke rolled across the ocean's surface. The missile's guidance camera flickered, trying to hold its target. Smith waited, heart hammering, then yelled, "Now!" All countermeasures released at once. The missile adjusted too late. It tore past the rig, detonating about 1,600 feet away. The shockwave slammed the platform. Metal groaned and loose equipment clattered to the floor. But when the smoke cleared, the rig still stood. Smith grabbed the radio. "Impact avoided. Minor damage only. We're operational." His voice shook, but relief washed over the crew. The attack had failed, but the world was already watching. If you think the platform crew were the true heroes, press 1. If you believe the pilot thought he was defending his homeland, press 9 and subscribe to see how Washington responds next. 30 seconds after the blast, the Delta platform's distress signal reached an E-2D Hawkeye surveillance plane orbiting 200 miles to the north. Within minutes, the message was relayed to the U.S. Fifth Fleet command post and then straight to the Pentagon. The report was brief but shocking. American civilian platform attacked by Venezuelan missile. No casualties. Situation developing. In Washington, the response was immediate. Inside the Situation Room, monitors lit up with radar maps and satellite feeds. The president looked at his advisors. "Is the crew safe?" he asked. "Yes, sir." "Was it deliberate?" Silence. Then someone replied, "Unclear, but it was a missile launch in international waters." That was enough. Intent no longer mattered. The act itself was aggression. At 9:40 a.m., an order flashed across secure lines. Establish air dominance. Prepare a proportional response. Within 25 minutes, 4 F-22 Raptors were airborne from forward bases in Panama, heading north. 6F divided by A, 18 Super Hornets lifted off from the carrier USS George H.W. Bush, each armed with AGM-88 HARM missiles designed to hunt and destroy enemy radar. 2 EA-18G Growlers joined in, flooding the spectrum with jamming signals. Offshore, a Virginia-class submarine adjusted course, readying Tomahawk cruise missiles if needed. Across the Caribbean, the air crackled with encrypted chatter. Operation Justice Wave standby. The scale of the reaction stunned observers. In less than 30 minutes, an entire strike group had repositioned toward the Venezuelan coast. Meanwhile, inside the Venezuelan Air Command, chaos erupted. When the regional controller requested a flight update, Captain Herrera's calm voice came through. "Missile launched. Target neutralized." For a few seconds, no one spoke. Then Colonel Eduardo Vargas shouted into the headset, "Repeat that. You did what?" When confirmation came, every officer in the room realized the magnitude of what had just happened. By 10 a.m., U.S. fighters were already moving into defensive formation over the Gulf. The calm skies that morning now carried the first ripples of an international crisis. By 11 a.m., 2 hours after the near miss, Captain Luis Herrera landed his F-16 back at Maracaibo Air Base. The aircraft was scarred with tiny hole shrapnel from his own missile's explosion, but it was still flight-worthy. He climbed down, breathing hard, thinking the worst was over. It wasn't. Minutes later, military police arrived at the hangar. "Captain Herrera," one of them said, "you're ordered to stand down and remain on base." The pilot frowned, confused. Then he saw the look on his commander's face, pale, tight, and silent. He understood. By noon, the order came from Caracas. "Arrest the pilot. Secure all data. Begin investigation," Herrera protested, claiming he had defended Venezuelan waters from an unknown threat. The flight logs told a different story. In the capital, the Defense Ministry scrambled to control the damage. Generals argued over what to do next. One group demanded a full apology to Washington, calling the strike a tragic mistake. Another group wanted to deny everything, insisting the platform had provoked the lock-on first. Both sides knew they were out of time. At 1 p.m., the government finally agreed to issue an apology, suspend the pilot, and offer compensation. But that message still needed to pass through several diplomatic channels before reaching Washington. And every minute counted, because across the Gulf, American jets were already in the air, receiving new coordinates, tightening formation, and waiting for the next order. What no one in Caracas realized was that by the time their apology reached the U.S. desk, the response would already be underway. If you think the apology could still stop the attack, press 1. If you believe it was already too late, press 9 and subscribe so you don't miss the moment the sky over Venezuela erupts. 4 p.m., the 14th of August 2025. The operation known as Justice Wave begins. Far out in the Caribbean, 2 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers open their launch hatches. A deep rumble shakes the ocean as 28 Tomahawk cruise missiles blast upward in perfect sequence, each carrying a 500-pound warhead. Beneath the waves, a Virginia-class attack submarine adds 12 more. From 1,500 miles away, 3 B-1B Lancer bombers release a swarm of long-range cruise missiles from high altitude. In total, 100 missiles are now slicing through the sky toward Venezuela from 3 directions. Their paths cross the sea like glowing trails of fire. Inside Venezuelan radar stations, operators stare at screens filled with noise. The Growler's jamming has blinded them. The radar returns jump, flicker, and then vanish. A commander, desperate, switches on his radar manually to search for targets. The signal lasts 5 seconds before 3 AGM-88 harms lock on and destroy the antenna and command truck in one flash. Every radar pulse becomes a target. Every light on the scope means death. Air defense units panic. Missiles launch into the sky without guidance, leaving white scars over the darkening coast. 18 interceptors go up. None come back. Without radar, they fly blind until they crash into the sea. At 4:39 p.m., the first Tomahawk crosses the shoreline near Maracaibo. Its programmed target, the same airbase where Captain Herrera's F-16 took off hours earlier. 3 hits in under half a minute. Destroy the hangars, the command bunker, and the ammunition depot. The final blast ignites stored rocket fuel, creating a fireball visible 20 miles away. Across the northern coast, 6 long-range radars and 3 control hubs are struck next. Power grids flicker, communication lines go dead, and chaos takes over. By 7:15 p.m., the sky goes silent. 94 of the 100 missiles have hit their marks. The attack ends with precision so brutal it feels unreal. 4 F-16 squadrons gone. Venezuela's radar network erased. Its air force cut by nearly half in a single evening. If you believe this was justice served, press 1. If you think it was revenge disguised as defense, press 9. And subscribe to see what happens when the world wakes up to this strike. When dawn broke over the Gulf of Venezuela on the 15th of August 2025, the air smelled of burned fuel and salt. From space, satellite images showed 4 smoking air bases, 6 destroyed radar stations, and entire stretches of coastline left dark where power grids once glowed. In total, Venezuela lost over $2 billion in aircraft, weapons, and infrastructure. 4 full squadrons of F-16 seconds were gone, nearly 40% of its air power wiped out in less than a day. The country's northern radar net, built over 20 years, was now silent. The U.S. strike group withdrew before sunrise, leaving no trace but contrails and sonar echoes. Not a single American aircraft or sailor was lost. For Washington, the mission was complete. A decisive, proportional answer to a single missile launch in international waters. In Caracas, the government called an emergency broadcast. The defense minister appeared on television, voice shaking slightly, calling the incident a tragic mistake by one pilot acting without orders. He announced the arrest of Captain Luis Herrera, promising full cooperation with an international investigation. But even as he spoke, the damage had already reshaped the map of regional power. Global headlines called it the 6-hour war. Analysts noted how one impulsive launch triggered a cascade of high-tech precision strikes that no nation in the hemisphere could counter. It became a textbook case of how communication failures and human pride can outweigh billions in hardware. Captain Herrera now sits in a military prison outside Caracas, facing charges of disobedience and endangering national security. He hasn't spoken publicly since his arrest. The Gulf is quiet again, but it's a silence built on fear. Both nations now know how fast peace can collapse and how expensive it is to rebuild trust once it burns. If you believe a single pilot can start a war, press 1. If you think politics turned one mistake into a message, press 9. And subscribe to follow the next chapter of this global standoff.